Hi everyone. I'm here to talk to you today about some things you can do to create a bell cover and a type of mask or covering for your flute when you play flute at UND this year. The University of Indianapolis is requiring all wind musicians to come up with a bell cover for your instrument, and this is the bell of the flute. It's the end of the instrument, even though ours is not shaped like a bell. We play a straight cylindrical instrument, you know, on a clarinet or an oboe or a trumpet. The end of the instrument flares, thus it's called a bell because of the shape. So the bell end of your flute is the end of the instrument. The guidelines say that you're required when playing in any kind of rehearsal to have a bell cover for your instrument because the studies are showing that a lot of aerosols come out the end of the instrument. Now I want you to understand that when we play the flute, air comes out everywhere. Particularly a lot of air comes out here because only half of our air goes into the instrument and travels down, but half of our air goes out into the room. It's a pretty strong jet of air that goes down at an angle and then creates a cloud right here of aerosol. I'll talk in a minute about ways to mitigate that. The air travels down the flute and escapes from any holes that are open here to a certain degree, and there are studies that show clouds of aerosols evaporating from the fingers. There's not much we can do to cover up this part of the flute. I actually tried to make a flute sock and it completely muffled the instrument and was unacceptable to me. But quite a lot of air does come out the bell end of the flute, especially on lower notes. The more fingers we have down, more aerosols come out the end of the flute, and I watched videos that demonstrated this. So the University of Indianapolis is requiring bell covers. I looked around the house and found some objects that can work, and I want to show a variety of them to you. Maybe you can find some of these things around your house. So this is a cotton ball. You can just stuff a cotton ball right in your flute. And I would just get it so it's filling the hole, maybe sticking out a little bit, and that's going to plug the end of the instrument. Now when you do this, you can't play your lowest note. So on this flute, it's a low B. If you have a C foot joint, it's your low C will not come out at all. And I'll demonstrate that with the cotton ball in there. All right, so when I go for the low B, nothing happens at all. My C comes out. It's a little bit weak, so the note above is a little bit weak, but it's pretty acceptable. We don't use these notes very much. I've been using a bell cover at a couple of recording studio gigs that I had in the last month. And I just keep it on all the time. If a low C comes up in the music and I need to play that note, I just take it out temporarily for a short period of time and then insert it again. So this is pretty acceptable. I found some pom-poms in my house. These are just crafting pom-poms, and this is a pretty big size and will just push right into the instrument like that. That one's hot pink. This is a smaller one, and the danger is it'll get up in there and be hard to get out if you push it too far, so I don't like this size so much, and it seems a little bit loose. I found a little finger puppet in my house. I went through the toy bins and everything to find things that might work, but it's essentially a little bag, so that can go on the end of the flute. You would have to affix this with a rubber band, or I want to show you something that works really well for attaching little bags to the end of the flute. These kind of hair clips, can you see that? These are called claw clips, are for sale in any Target, Walmart, drugstores, CVS, maybe even like Dollar General or something. They usually come about 6 or 8 on a card. And I had bought some of these. They don't work very well in my hair, but they are the perfect size to go around the end of the flute. They can attach to the head joint just perfectly right there, and they attach to the end of the flute. They're plastic and won't scratch. So I can put my cute little rabbit finger puppet on the end of my flute and clip. You have to mess with it a little bit, maybe with extra fabric, and get it kind of closed. Kind of cute, fashionable little bunny on the end of my flute. But that's a bag that's enclosed and will catch a lot of the aerosols. So. Hey, I'm almost getting a low B. The further you open the bag out, I think it's because I don't have it sealed properly though, and it's leaking. So I'm not sure that's sealing so well. Now, many of you have a thumb port. You have a little bag like this that came with your thumb port. This is what I use most of the time. Mine is pink. I've got 2 of these pink ones because I've had a couple thumb ports. And this is really great because you can just put it on the foot joint and just pull the little drawstring ties like that. And that's what I've been doing. And it stays on pretty well. I've been playing gigs like this. And again, the B comes out weakly, but it's not acceptable. So your lowest note is going to be affected by that. You could also add the hair clip or rubber band, or if you've lost the tie for your bag, to sort of make that fit tighter. I have another little bag I found around the house. This one is kind of velvet material and has a nice drawstring to it. It's red. I think some jewelry or some of those little polished rocks came in it from a gemstone store that we went to on vacation. So you might have a little bag like this. Look in your bathroom, your jewelry, your hair clips, and your junk bins. And if you have any kind of little bag with a drawstring, that is perfect for putting on the end of the flute. This is another little jewelry bag I have. This didn't work great. It has sort of snaps that are in the way, but I can get it on the end of the flute and affix it with one of these clips. And I would suggest that you have several things with you because these things are going to get lost. You're going to drop them, lose them, they're going to fall out of your flute case. So if you can find a couple of little bag items and maybe have a few cotton balls or pom-poms in your flute bag or your case, then you can cover the end of the flute that way. And lastly, the studies are recommending that bell covers be made for all instruments out of nylon fabric, the kind of fabric that's used for tights, pantyhose, or these trouser socks that I use when I play a concert. So if you have a thin old pair of socks or a legging or hose and can just cut off a little bag from the bottom of it, there you have a little bag. You could cut a couple out of here and maybe stitch the end, and you have a few of these that you can stick onto the end of the flute with a clip or a rubber band. The rubber band, I think, would be, I had one here, I'm not seeing it, would be a little trickier to affix to the flute. So that's bell covers and how to do that. Again, if you've got a thumb port bag, you're set, and I think even a cotton ball is easy to do, but have several of those on hand. Now, I made a mask for myself to play flute at a few gigs. I have only played one performing gig since the pandemic started. I did an outside, socially distanced trio performance that was outside a coffee shop. And I felt pretty safe about that. And I've done a couple of days in recording studio. I was very worried about that, but they did have me placed in sort of a cubicle with walls around me, although it was open over the top. But I was distanced from the string players and other musicians. All the string players were able to wear masks. And I made this flute mask, which I found on YouTube. A flutist and band director designed this. I think her name is Julie Budd. I'll send you a link to this. And this has worked really, really well for me, but it is hard to make. You have to be able to sew and have a sewing machine. So it is a little sort of gathered bag. It's a football-shaped piece of cloth. It's been, and I'm not great at sewing, but it has some little pleats in it. And I used hair ties as the elastics there. And there's a little slit in it here that I can insert my flute in. I messed up. I cut the slit in the wrong place and had to sew that back together and make one here. So this goes on. It is not perfect, but I think it helps a lot. Nothing is perfect. So it's very poofy because of the pleating and holds its shape. And all I have to do is find this little slit here. It takes an extra second or two to put my flute up. I found I have to put my flute up 4 bars before I play instead of 2 bars before I play to make sure I get the flute in the slit. So So that works really nicely. I'm pretty comfortable with this. But I know that many of you cannot make this masks. I will send you the links to the video. I think it's on YouTube. I'll send it to you. I can't remember right now the title of the video, but there's 2 videos where she shows the mask and a second one where she gives more detailed instructions about how she sewed it, and there's even a PDF in the comments with her pattern for the size and dimensions of the piece of fabric. If you do sew or have a family member that will be willing to make you one of these, I like it a lot. It's my favorite thing. Now, you are all going to be receiving the Flute Air Shield. This is the packaging it comes in. It's just it's very thin, comes in a little Ziploc bag. John Nawarda, our band director, has these, and if you want yours as soon as you get to campus, I would email him and ask how you can pick it up, because he can probably leave it at the office or in a student mailbox or something to distribute to you. So I've already installed it. You can look at the website for the product. It's installed on my head joint here. It's a football-shaped piece of plastic. You have to peel off a little layer, just like when you get a new phone or something. There's a little protective layer that you peel off of this on one side. I'm not sure why. And it's easy to put on the head joint, and there's little rubber O-rings that sort of hold it in place. It works without those, and these are probably going to get lost, but it kind of allows you to shape it and press it, and it tilts up and down. Now, I think this is a great product for playing outside, especially if you're playing outside on a somewhat windy day. If the wind is blowing towards you or even from the side a little bit, it can interfere with your airstream and affect the production of your tone, quality, and your low notes. This prevents that as a shield. I think that's great. Somewhat like the Wind Defender product, which is much more expensive. The Wind Defender is hard to find right now and is about $50. That's a plastic piece that sticks onto the flute. This is $10, and mine were shipped from Ohio. It's a new product. Now, I don't think that this is sufficient protection indoors, but when you play, you can tilt this up or down, and our airstream goes a little bit down, so I tilt it just a little bit down. Sounds really nice. In fact, it reflects the sound back to you in a nice way. Sometimes I tell some of you to practice in the practice rooms up against the metal doors to really hear your harmonic content and your sound. This kind of works like that and helps you hear yourself. So if you're playing outside, I think this is great. I have been using extra protection with this, and the university is supposedly ordering masks for all wind players in the department, especially designed with a slit for the mouthpiece. But I don't know if these will work for flute at all. I don't know what they are. I have not found anything online other than this puffy mask I showed you that I think works for flute. I sewed myself a kind of bib. This is the first prototype I made, and I thought it wasn't big enough, but this is just a double layer of cotton fabric with elastic. I put elastic all along the top to make it stretchy, and it has ear loops. So you can put this on, and you can insert the flute behind it. And the flute shield holds the fabric away from the flute by a couple inches. Right? And you can play that way. This is not perfect. Air is certainly escaping out the sides here. And it's not a perfect seal, but I feel like it would collect some moisture and some aerosols and mitigate somewhat, is a lot safer. I made a bigger one out of this polyester fabric that I had. Again, a double layer. It's longer, and it has some little tucks or pockets over ear loops. This one, I tend to bring my hair around it because I have long hair if I can. I sometimes even tuck it in my shirt and try to really close it over here. And then you do have to get the flute underneath it from this side. Adjust the flute shield. Right? And that just works fine for playing flute. Now, I know, again, that some of you can't make something like this, and I'm not great at sewing. I would be willing to make a few of these bibs out of scrap fabric I have here if you would like me to. Please let me know, and I think I could sew a few of these and have them ready by the second week of the semester when I see you for our first live lessons and give you one. One other thing you can try is to look around your house and find a piece of fabric that might work to rig something. And this is just a big sort of silky scarf. It's not silk, but fake silk. And this was a big square. I'm making it into a triangle here. And I've got 2 hair elastics, right? So I'm going to put one end through each hair elastic. So I've got my triangle of fabric and 2 hair elastics here. And this is the tricky thing, is getting the length right, getting it on and kind of messing with it, and it tends to sort of fall off. So if you have a scarf like this around your house, or I see things like this at Goodwill sometimes for just a few bucks, you could look for something really cheap that you could put hair elastics around, hair elastics on each ear, and see, I need to tighten it so I can get it over my nose. And then I can insert the flute with the flute shield underneath this. Right? That works pretty well. This is a little fussy. It's not gonna stay. Sometimes I have to mess with it. It falls down. You might, if you get something like this rigged up, you could just safety pin where you like these to be, and then it will maybe stay at the right size. And that's just super quick and easy. And you could pick a pretty scarf, a pattern that you like, and I make something like that. You might be able to make something out of an old t-shirt. Cotton fabric is great. Just cut a big part of t-shirt out and try to hand sew a couple of these on in the right place, and you can hand sew a couple of tucks in the top to make it the right length, that kind of thing. Or ask a family member to help you that can sew. So I would like for you to try to see if you have anything like that you can easily and quickly come up with a bib or face covering on the flute. Gosh, I'm sorry this video is so long. And I'd like you to message me if you would like some help with that and want me to sew one of those for you. That's all my ideas for right now. I'll be sending you a lot of information soon, more info about lessons and flute ensemble in emails. So talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye.